So last week, obviously, we had Mark Magana on the show talking post Super Bowl, the breakdown of the game a little bit, and now since then, a lot has come out in terms of where some players are going to be next year. And down in Tampa, they had the Super Bowl parade on Wednesday of last week. And Bruce Arians basically said that he wants to keep the band together and wants to repeat. And basically said, pointed out every single one of his players and said, "You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere." Now I know that's not legitimate contract negotiations, and Bruce Arians was rightfully so intoxicated, which was funny to see. I get a kick out of Bruce Arians. I really do like him as a coach, which I got to change my. I got to move my camera here a second, guys. 1 second. But it sounds like they're going to do what they can to re-sign some of the key players, including Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown. There is talks of Gronk not being back next year for the Buccaneers, but I personally believe that anybody that thinks that Gronk is going to go play anywhere else other than playing with Tom Brady, they're smoking something. Gronk literally came out of retirement to play with Tom Brady, not in New England. So I don't believe that he's going to go play. I know there's a couple of people who've been saying, oh, he's going to go to Miami and him and Deshaun Watson, or even him and Tua. It's like, why would he has spent his career with Tom Brady. Why would he come out of retirement, play 1 year, win a championship, and then go play elsewhere when he could very easily stay with Tampa Bay and potentially win another ring? So I don't see Gronk going elsewhere. I basically see the Tampa Bay team coming back, and they're going to be the favorites to go to the Super Bowl again this next year. And they're gonna keep most of their key players in play. Definitely Zeus. Yeah, 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. He's sticking with Tom Brady. I don't believe he's going anywhere. It just it doesn't make any sense for him to go anywhere else. So I don't know. It just seems foolish to me. One thing that I do want to talk about, I know today I had tweeted out a tweet about some delays in products from Panini. Obviously, as everybody knows, we're having some severe weather around the country, snowstorms from Wisconsin down to Texas, and it's wreaked some havoc with a number of things. Panini announced today, I actually got an email from the VP of sales that they were going to delay certified basketball, which was releasing tomorrow, because not all shipments got out, and so they couldn't. They wanted to be fair, and they wanted to release it when everybody got their shipments. And then they were also pushing back literally every product for the next week, basically 2 weeks. And I tweeted it out, listed off the products, everything. Literally an hour later, I get a follow-up email. Cancel that. Back on schedule for certified. Too many people have already gotten their product because it releases tomorrow. So Panini is just going to roll the dice. They're not going to try to enforce people not selling product that did get it or that are getting it tomorrow. So certified is a go for tomorrow. Unfortunately, mine is delayed. I won't have mine until Thursday. I'm waiting for an update on Limited Football. Limited comes out on Friday, and there's no word from Panini whether or not that's going to ship in time or has shipped to the wholesalers in time. So I don't know yet. That's up in the air. And then we'll be getting word as far as next week, all the product releases next week, or the next 2 weeks, I should say, finding out, because a lot of places in Texas are still without power, so they can't even ship product. So we'll know more in the next 48 hours, I would assume. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. I know we've got some pre-orders for things like limited football and certified basketball, but I can't guarantee anything beyond certified being here Thursday. We got delayed one day because of the weather. Not here, but my my um, um, my source for product that I had to buy some of my certified through, because my wholesale numbers have been dropped drastically this year. So I've had to buy a lot of my stuff secondary market and try to buy it before markups really start to affect it. So I don't have certified coming until Thursday. It is what it is. So anybody that bought certified or anybody planning to buy certified, I won't be able to ship until Thursday at the earliest. That said, I'm looking forward to it because it looks pretty damn nice. Tonight, to wrap up the show, I am going to open a box of Topps Series 1 Baseball Hobby Box, and we're going to give away some cards out of there. If you didn't see my tweet the other day, on Sunday, I was a bit hungover. My wife and I decided to do Valentine's Day Saturday so that we could have some of our favorite wine, which is a heavy alcohol content, and not have to worry about Monday morning hangover. And I consumed a fair amount of wine. Sunday morning, I felt like crap, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to rip a box of Topps Jumbo Series 1, maybe make me feel better. And I'm literally opening it. First pack on top is a box topper, and I say to myself, maybe I'll hit something big to make me feel better. And literally as I'm ripping it open, Juan Soto, box topper, auto, numbered out of 10, is staring up at me. So, yes, made me feel better. So, pretty awesome card. The crappy thing is, number 3 of 10, the crappy thing is, and it's an on-card auto, is that I have no way to safely store this card currently. Coming from somebody who prides himself on keeping a fair amount of supplies, especially oddball supplies, there is nothing that fits this in Ultra Pro's catalog. I've even reached out to one of the guys from Ultra Pro that I know, that I talk to quite a few times a year, and gave him the dimensions, and I was like, did Topps even talk to you guys about making sure that what they had planned was something that they even had, that you guys even had something for? And he was just like, no, they didn't talk to us at all. So yeah, so I basically have no way to store this thing. So my plan is, the suggestions that I've gotten from Ultra Pro and from one of the local card shops is the 5x7 postcard storage, and I'm like, it's gonna have to be. So, such an oddball, because it's 5-inch tall by 2-inch wide, and it is just the most bizarre thing to try to store. It's literally like a bookmark, and I've never seen a card this size before, and I've dealt with the vintage tall boys and all that kind of stuff, and I'm baffled with this one. I just don't know what to really do as far as size for this, but it's a cool card. So the hobby box that we're opening tonight to end the show doesn't have those box toppers, but we do get a silver pack in the hobby box, which still fun. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I don't know the involvement level from most collectors or what most people think of this yet, but I did want to bring up, and I'm gonna lose sound here for a second, but just bear with me. I'll have it fixed in a second. If I can get this to. Okay, there we go. You guys should be able to hear me now. Um, if you've been playing around at all or watching what some of these guys have been doing online, the NBA Top Shot is a collectible video. Um, One of the most bizarre things that I've seen in collectibles world. It's blockchain technology where you basically get a, you know, 3 to 8 second clip, I believe, or 13-second clip, I think it might be, and they're limited editions, and you own the rights to that video piece, I guess, by the sounds of it. And they are it's cool to watch. I mean, I've watched the videos and stuff, and it's neat. I'm a little on the fence as far as why value is so high on these. But you get challenges. I mean, it's a game. I've read the info about it. They consider it a game. You complete challenges, and you get different rewards. And these video clips, though, are selling for hundreds of dollars. And some of these challenges, when you get the challenge reward, they are crazy expensive. So it's kind of an interesting way to collect in a digital world where you're not physically handling anything, and the way the sequential numbers work blows me away, because it's not like in sports cards where if you have an autograph of a player numbered out of 299, whether you have 10 of 299 or you have 200 of 299, the value is because it's numbered out of 299. Well, here, these videos, the way these collectibles are valued, the lower your first number is, it doesn't matter if it's out of 15,000, the lower your first number is, the more valuable it is. And it's got me completely, trying to understand why collectibles, or why this is considered the collectible the way in the market that it is, and why values are the way it is. And I've had people try to explain it to me, and it's just such a bizarre concept to me. But I'm going to play with it a little bit and see how things go. And the problem is that everybody's running into, as you see on the screen there, the packs they sell out so quick, and the website's still in beta testing. I get it. And if there were unlimited packs, the value of these would just plummet anyways. So, they sell a few thousand packs at a time, and you get 3 to 5 moments per pack. And yeah, they release, I think, two waves a week or something like that, if I understand correctly. It is interesting, and I'll be curious to see if this actually sticks out and survives valuability. But and one of these days, I'm going to try to get a guy on here to talk about it that knows quite a bit more about them than I do, and we'll see how that interview turns out. So that's NBA Top Shot. Tonight I do have a special guest coming on here in about 7 minutes. Dean Smith Richard. He is a sports analyst. So he'll be coming on to talk tonight about Seahawks and the state of where things are at right now, and it'll be a good chat. Like I said, he's coming on in about 7 minutes. Once we get him on, we're going to talk a number of new rumors and news going on with the Seahawks. We might even talk a little baseball tonight. Dean's a big baseball guy, so a lot of times he's my source for insider information for what's going on with the Mariners and with AAA and the Rainiers and whatnot. He's a big Rainiers fan, so any of you Mariners fans, stick around towards the end of the conversation and might even get a chance. I can get you guys to ask Dean some questions. If you got questions, I'll run them by him. I would agree, David. Blockchain is a little ridiculous. I'm still not sold on digital sports cards that Panini does. Again, I'm a bit old school in a number of ways. And when I collect something, I want to physically hold the card. Now, that's because I've been collecting cards since I was a kid. And if I can't hold the card, to me, it's not tangible. But these videos holding value can really change that concept as to what is valuable. And I don't want to say that I've joined it and had a lot of fun, because I literally, the first time I joined it, I was so frustrated because I was online for a pack drop. It would not process the pack purchase, and I wasted a couple hours trying to purchase a pack, and it would not process. Now, I did this last pack drop, and I did get in, and I was in line, and it was flawless. It was a very smooth, once they got all the bugs worked out from earlier in the day, and they got their queue set up, and it all worked. Yeah, it was flawless. Now, I can't say that it was a ton of fun, but I will say that one of the moments that I pulled was the Tyler Harrow Cool Cats, because that was the edition of the packs we bought. I did get the Tyler Harrow Cool Cats, and it's like right now already it's like $200, and I'm just like, why is this thing $200? This is crazy. I paid $14 for the pack, and it's some limited edition. So I'm like, all right, I need to do some more research on it. So as I get further into that, and if I do dive deeper into it, I might make that an offering on the website where I'll sell my Top Shots, my Top Shot moments on the website. So that'll be like I said, that'll be something I'm going to have to dive deeper into, and I'm going to have to do a lot of research on that before I start putting time and effort or funds into it. So got a couple more minutes till Dean pops on here, and I can see on my other screen he's getting his settings dialed in so that he doesn't look like a Lego man pieced together. Yeah, a couple of the other things we've been watching. All the drama roll out in Philly, obviously, with Carson Wentz. We've been hearing all the drama with Houston. J.J. Watt got released per his request. Now the question is, where's J.J. Watt going to end up? A lot of speculation with the J.J. Watt potential signings as well. I know a lot of Cleveland people are already calling dibs, we'll call it, because J.J. Watt made the comment, apparently, and I haven't read this, but apparently J.J. Watt made the comment that he wouldn't mind playing for Cleveland. And personally, I just think that was J.J. Watt being PC and J.J. Watt being the nice guy that J.J. Watt is, and not writing off anybody. Because he's a smart businessman as well, and he understands that he shouldn't block out any... he shouldn't block out any opportunities, we'll say. But I just, man, the only thing, we're not going to know anything for sure until the new league year starts anyways, which is in like a month. So we're not going to hear about any actual signings because nobody can sign until I think it's March 17th or March 15th or whatever it is. So there's going to be a month long. That's all you guys are going to hear is drama about who's signing where and who's going to sign where and where's the potential for it. None of that can happen until then anyways. Even the trades that have announced, the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade can't actually take place until March 17th. So stuff like that is, yeah, we just got to wait. I got Dean pulled up now, it looks like. I got to wait and see. You're good to go, Dean? All right. um, so let me get everything set up here, and I'll switch this over. So joining us now, we have a man who has written for, um, is it Nerds of a Feather, and also the Seahawks Wire, and a published author. Everybody, welcome Dean Smith Richard.
What?
Okay, hang on.
Like,
It's not. The video's not loading, Dean. 1 second.
I think the real question told you a lot about that are the
I'm not hearing anything you're saying, Dean. There we go. You're breaking up really bad, Dean.
Yeah.
Nope. I can't hear you. All right, guys. We got a little technical difficulty with Dean, so bear with me. Technically, well, see, Haskins signed a futures contract because Watt is a veteran. He can't sign until the new league year. Haskins, being only second year, can sign a futures contract because he hasn't played 5 years.
How about now?
That is way better, Dean.
There we go. That's weird. Usually the mic's pretty good on it. Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, your introduction again. Dean Smith Richard. You said Seahawks Wire you've written for.
Yep.
And I do remember those days, actually. I remember seeing some of your stuff posted.
It was a minute ago. It was a fun gig. I have to work with some really fun people. There's a lot of really great people. They got rid of me, and which was actually my choice. We're just going to say that. But yeah. Famously of Yahoo Sports, who has wrote a lot of great stuff, is now over there at Touchdown Wire. Liz Matthews is still there. So just like great talent. So if you're not reading Touchdown Wire and all their sports teams, their Seahawks Wire, Steelers Wire, all of it, there's some really great content over there right now. So highly recommend that, even though I'm not over there anymore. But
right on.
Super fun game.
Is there aspirations to get back into it?
You know, I go back and forth on it. I've done Ryan Roland Smith's baseball camp the last few years, and we've gotten to know each other pretty well. So I keep telling him we need to start the Hyphen Show and have Ryan Roland Smith and Dean Smith Richard and just have like the Hyphen Show. This is honestly what I'd love to get more into is podcasting and videos and that kind of stuff. It's a little bit more fun to have a conversation. I love to write, obviously, but it's a little bit more fun to have a conversation sometimes. So
I would agree. And I'm 22 shows into Sports Stuff Hub Live. And I tell you what, the guys listening probably got tired of me yammering all the time to myself. And it's been nice last week and now this week having somebody actually come on and I can actually interact.
You and I have done this for fun for years, so like we might as well. I'll jump on and BS with you anytime, man.
Absolutely, that would be appreciated.
So I want to hit the JJ Watt thing real quick though, because my question is not where he's going to sign, but are the Texans just the new Browns? Because are they just the can't win dysfunction at every turn franchise in the NFL? Like I think the Browns have turned that corner, and that was the question in my mind: is okay, the Browns are a legitimate franchise now. Who's going to replace them as just the garbage joke team in the NFL? And I think the Texans have really stepped up to the plate on that.
Okay, so here's what I want to say. Number one, I don't want to just say that the Browns have moved on.
Right. Well, they're the Browns. So
They've been the Browns for a long time, and I'm not taking anything away from this past season and how well they did and the roster that they have. Um, and I don't want to just say Juju was right saying the Browns is the Browns, but it's going to take more than one playoff appearance um, and a playoff win for me to say the Browns are going to be a successful franchise for the next 20 years.
yeah, and this will circle back in the Seahawks discussion for sure, because I think it comes down to, for me as a sports fan and as a guy who's pretty invested in the sporting world, is it's what do you consider a successful franchise? You take a team like the Browns, for example, who have had completely winless seasons, 500 seasons. The 110-win season they had in the last decade and a half, they kind of got jobbed out of playoff berth. That they probably should have had, but that's the way it goes. We see it every year. There's a 9-10 win team that doesn't make it. So now they've cleared that threshold. Okay, now you've made it to the playoffs. You are an above 500 team. At what point does that shine wear off? Because the goal is a championship, right? Every year is where you want to go, and so at a certain point, you shouldn't be content with wild card berths and occasionally winning the division. You know, you and I have seen it for years with the Steelers and Bengals back and forth, where the Bengals kept sneaking into the playoffs, but then they never made any noise. So what do you consider a successful franchise in there? Are you okay with 9, 10, 11 win seasons and a first or second round playoff exit, or are you gonna get over the hump and get to a championship? And it's obviously a hard thing to do. I think the NFL is probably the hardest league to do that in. Maybe the NBA is more difficult, but that's because it's the opposite. There's not enough parity in it. But yeah, at what point are you not content with, okay, we made the playoffs, yay, we didn't suck this year. You got to get to the next level.
Absolutely, and that's where I would probably say I wouldn't put the Bengals into successful franchise territory quite yet.
No, absolutely not.
And I don't want to say they're a train wreck. And you guys and a lot of the people watching know that I've been beating the drum of I've wanted to see the Browns more successful over the last decade, which is why I was lobbying so hard for certain picks for them to make, because I was tired of seeing them be the basement dweller.
Right.
And it's like everybody always say, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bengals, they get 2 bonus wins a season because they were playing the Browns every year.
Yeah, and that's and it's no fun for everybody to have every team a team that's just like that. It's we all have our fandoms, but you don't want to watch somebody just get screwed over by the team that they choose to root for, or where they're born from. That's no fun for anybody.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm hesitant at the moment to say that the Browns have eliminated that from where they still are. It's going to take me seeing them a few playoff appearances. They already got the playoff win under their belt. An AFC championship would be nice to see.
Yeah. And they got to win that division. They got to prove it in the regular season.
Correct.
Is the big part of it for me. You do have some dogs in that division. You and I can talk all day long about what's going to happen with the Steelers and Roethlisberger in these next few years. You kind of anticipate them taking a step backwards at some point in the near future. But they're still a tough team. Mike Tomlin, is one of my favorite coaches in the entire NFL, and he's had a really, really great track record there. The Ravens, as long as they have Lamar Jackson, they're going to be good. And honestly, they're there at some point. But so that division's no gimme. So you want to see them win that division. You're not going to win it year in and year out. It's a tough division, but you do need to turn the corner. And can you get to a 1 seed, a 2 seed? Can you get to that AFC championship? Can you get to a Super Bowl in order to say, yeah, that's not a flash in the pan? Because we see it every year. Half the playoff field turns over every single year. And there's always some flash in the pan team that made a few splashes, had the first round pick that hit, but can you sustain that? And I think they have the pieces to. The coaching looks solid. Mayfield could go either way. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback, but they've got a great ground game. They've got solid lines on both sides of the ball. So they have a lot of the pieces there for sustained success. But yeah, you got to go put it on the field for 16 or 17 games whenever that happens.
Absolutely. So getting out of the AFC North, as much as I would love to sit and talk about AFC North all freaking night long.
You brought me on your show, man. I had to throw it out there.
And I appreciate that. I never will shy away from talking AFC North football. But one of the main things we want to cover is the state of the Seahawks right now. And one of the things that has really been polarizing, we'll call it, for lack of a better term, the last week was Russell Wilson's comments about how much punishment he's taken over the last
9
couple
years.
years, we'll call
9
it.
years. Home dude is the Felix of getting hit. You know, he's amazing at what he does, but he gets smacked around. So there's, I've been thinking about this obviously all week, and then talking to you a little bit today. I've been thinking about how to come at this, and there's two sides to it. First and foremost, and I get where Russell Wilson's coming from, and I hate quarterbacks because of crap like this, but 40% of those sacks are on Russell Wilson. And part of it's his game. And you have to, you know, here's the baseball thing. If you're a fastball pitcher, people are going to hit home runs. It's going to happen. If you're that kind of quarterback that prolongs plays as long as he does and has to play Aaron Donald twice a year, you're going to get hit. And he did it more this year than I think he has in the 8 previous seasons he's been in Seattle, is you'd see him just run himself into sacks. And I don't know what the second half of his season was, and we could spend a whole show talking about that. But his game deteriorated at a massive level. He stopped trusting his receivers. He prolonged plays when they didn't need to prolong. I went back and watched tape, and there were a dozen plays over the last half of the season that he had receivers wide open. And we're talking all 22. This is not TV, you know, what you see on it where there's a safety lurking just out of the frame. There was wide open receivers a dozen times, and he just didn't trust his reads. And he was looking right at him. It wasn't that he was looking left of the hash marks and outside the numbers, and there was a guy on the right sideline streaking. It was guys that were his primary or his secondary read, and he didn't trust that a number of times. And that caused him to take a lot of sacks. The other side of this is that it just, everybody, or a lot of people, I should say, are coming at this wrong. Russell Wilson is not getting traded, right? Everybody's going, oh, the Seahawks are fielding calls. Well, of course you're going to field calls. Every year.
They get calls no matter what. They've been getting calls from him for years.
The Seahawks are getting calls about Bobby Wagner, but they're not trading Bobby Wagner.
Correct.
You know.
Now, before we get into that, though, I want to bring something up. So, Dov Kleiman from NFL Reporting put up a tweet that was quoted on Pro Football Talk, and it says, Seahawks management not happy with Russell Wilson regarding his comments, rightfully so. And then Dov actually tweeted out, a source told me that the Seahawks management is not happy with Russell Wilson and his camp for taking this to the media, Patrick said. You wonder if they're going to be able to coexist. The current situation is not sustainable. That's what I was told. So the question is, how much damage did Russell Wilson do with the comments that he made?
How much damage can Russell Wilson do? It goes back to one of the main reasons he's not getting traded. He's a franchise quarterback, and he's been in the league for 9 years now. You know, you can debate exactly where he belongs in the quarterback rankings of coming into 2021, but he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So he can kind of say whatever the hell he wants. He can definitely do that. And
but the question is, when you basically throw your coaching, your GM, and your offensive line under the bus, because that was a direct shot at his offensive line. So,
yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. It's throwing his coach under the bus. And if any of y'all follow me on Twitter, I am both simultaneously Pete Carroll's biggest fan and his
worst enemy.
Worst enemy. He drives me insane. So one side of the coin is, if anybody can smooth the situation over, it's Pete Carroll. He's absolutely a player's coach. Him and Russ have a great relationship on and off the field. So that's a big part of it. A big part of the reason that Russ hasn't been trusting those reads has a lot to do with the play calling and the coaching the last few years, where Pete came into this league or came back into the league, I should say, and set it on fire in a lot of ways, and helped make Russell Wilson when a lot of guys, when he obviously lasted to the middle of the third round, a lot of guys weren't looking at him as a franchise quarterback, much less a starting one. So Pete has a lot of credibility with Russ to smooth the situation over, and I think that's ultimately what'll happen. But Pete Carroll was just handed a 3-year extension that I frankly don't believe he should have gotten, because he now hasn't adapted to the league. I've been beating the Eric Bieniemy train for a long time, that I would love to see him come over from working with Patrick Mahomes the last few years and work with Russell Wilson. I think that's where Pete Carroll's at, is he hasn't adapted to where the league's at and the skill set, not just on the offensive line, but with the wide receivers, with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, the pairing that you have there. And going into 2021, Seattle has a lot of holes to fill at a lot of skill positions. And honestly, as shoddy as their offensive line play has been at times, and sometimes it's been really, really bad, but I think that's a lot more to coaching than it is to the actual talent they have, because they have invested in the offensive line.
Well, and I'm gonna stop you there for a second. What I just put up on the screen, and I don't know how well you can see this, but Warren Sharp tweeted out the other day, Russell Wilson is allowed to be unhappy, rightfully so. Since their last trip to the Super Bowl in 2014, no team has spent less on the offensive line than Seattle. They ranked number 32 in the NFL since 2014. No team has re-signed fewer drafted O-linemen than Seattle. They haven't signed a single drafted O-line to a second deal.
So I'm curious to see how they're defining spent. Is that dollars or draft picks? Because one of the things there is Seattle has actually spent significant draft capital on their offensive line.
They're talking dollars.
Yeah. So, right. So they've drafted a lot of offensive line. James Carpenter, Jermaine Ifedi, Russell Okung have all been first-round picks in the Carroll and Schneider era. So when you're saying 3 first-round picks for a team that notoriously does not use their first-round picks, they've used 3 first-round picks on offensive linemen, and that's just first-round picks. They've also gone after they had Max Unger, and oh my God, Ethan Posick was a second round.
What he's saying though, since 2014, they haven't re-signed.
Right. So that's the flip side
picks
of the coin, and let me build to that point, because I think that tweet, while it's not wrong, is a little bit disingenuous, because you're saying spent dollars versus re-signed draft picks, because they've also traded for Dwayne Brown, right? So they've spent significant resources on acquiring offensive linemen. But what does it say to anyone objectively looking at it when you say, okay, you've spent draft capital, which is how you want to build an offensive line. You don't want to build an offensive line through free agency. It's not effective, because nobody's letting a top tier left tackle walk, right? Those guys just don't exist on the open market. So if you're spending that significant draft capital on them, and how many of those guys have you re-signed? Ifedi was a disaster. I think one of the worst offensive linemen ever, because he was just good enough to keep a job, but bad enough that he was constantly giving up sacks and costing his team yards through false starts and holding penalties. Posick's iffy. Unger went to New Orleans in that trade. And then, where are the guys you re-signed?
And I think where you're going with this would be talent evaluation in the draft.
Talent evaluation, more than that, because some of those guys, Okung's been solid. He's put together a very solid career, and was the first draft pick of the Carroll Schneider era. He's been solid year in and year out for kind of a number of teams. Not the greatest, but he's been to Pro Bowls. He's played well. To me, it comes down to coaching. Solari's done a much better job the last couple of years, and I was really trying to frantically Google it there while you were talking, but he's with the Raiders now. He's driving me insane. But their last offensive line coach was just the zone blocking scheme he ran was absolute garbage. I couldn't stand it, and that scheme was giving up sacks even when you had quality players. It's not like Dwayne Brown suddenly morphed into a crappy left tackle. He's one of the best in the game, right? So when you're putting guys in that position where they're set up to fail because of the scheme, that's when I'm solidly in Russ's corner, where he's taking shots at the coaching that he's been given. And for the scheme that Schottenheimer ran this past year or tried to run, after the whole let Russ cook movement, where you're trying to get him to air it out, well, at a certain point, then you're just forcing the ball, and that's not effective either. No matter who you are, whether you're Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Russell Wilson, you can't force the ball down the field and expect to have success. Al Davis tried to get every single coach he ever hired since 1992 to run that. And
yeah, and we actually talked about that a lot. You froze, and there's the Dean froze face.
You need to have Russ. I'm frozen, aren't I?
Yeah, you're back now.
There we go. Could you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. Well, it was a great rant too. But you can't just you just can't force the ball down the field 60% of the time and expect to have success. You do need to have balance, and that's where his coaching let him down. Was they went from, okay, well, we're going to run the ball, this Pete Carroll philosophy, to, okay, now we're going to throw it all the time, and then you're going to be surprised when there's some picks sprinkled in, and then you dial it back to a point of ineffectiveness. And again, you get a quarterback who doesn't trust his reads, who doesn't trust the routes. And so instead of playing to his strengths of where is Russell Wilson at his best, 100% the best play action quarterback in the NFL, one of the best deep ball passers, but that has to be mixed in with an effective running game, with intermediate passes. He's been at his best when he's had a good tight end target. And we can say what we want about Jimmy Graham's tenure here in Seattle, where there was a lot of negatives to it. But again, they tried to force him into a blocking role, but in the passing game, he was stupendously effective. Mm-hmm. And now you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. I think Cody Parkinson was a great pickup in the second round last year. And I don't think Russ's shot is so much at the offensive line as it is saying, use me effectively. Give me the play calls that make me successful. Roll him out of the pocket. Mix him in on play action. Because the flip side of all of this is Seattle has a lot of holes to fill. They have upwards of 36 free agents that are set to hit free agency. Obviously, not all those guys are going to, but you got a bunch of guys in key positions who are set to hit free agency. And the cap's going down this year. It's not going to be $200 million like we thought it was going to be 2-3 years ago, and like they planned for it to be. So they have holes to fill, but they just traded for Jamal Adams. So they don't have a first-round pick. They're down to 5 picks this year. And so you're not going to find a great offensive lineman in the middle of the third round who's going to be able to plug in day one, right? So you have to address this through scheme. You got Chris Carson set to hit free agency. He's justifiably, in a way, going to ask for top running back money, but he's too fragile, and he's not worth a 5-year, $60-70 million commitment for a guy who doesn't play 16 games a year. So that leaves you with Rashad Penny, who, I'm a huge fan of Rashad Penny, and I think he's extremely effective, but he's not Chris Carson and he's not Marshawn Lynch, where you can just 17 power him between the tackles all day long, and he's going to get 4 or 5 yards a clip. You need to get him in space. You need to work swing passes. You need to get counters going, and you need to get him involved in play action and screens, because that's what's going to make Russell Wilson effective. That's what's going to keep Aaron Donald from eating him for lunch twice a year. Is you have to give him a way to avoid the sack. I think it's more of Russ looking at the coaching system that he has in place and saying, Pete, buddy, we've been together for 9 years and I appreciate everything you did for me, but you're on your way out the door with us this year or at the end of this 3-year extension. I don't think Pete has the rope, and Pete and Russ is just really making it clear that he wants to be around for another 10 years because he's a quarterback and he can be, but he can't be if he's absorbing 50 odd sacks a year. So,
correct. And that's actually takes me into the next thing. NFL stats put up most sacked quarterbacks since 2017. And surprisingly, Russell Wilson leads that list after Deshaun Watson was just obliterated by defensive lines for 3 straight years. All of a sudden, because Russell Wilson is literally averaging 48 sacks a year, Wilson's sitting at top of the list.
Yeah, and he's just, again, part of it's his game. He's going to take a few more sacks than the average QB. You look at Matt Ryan there at 155. Matt Ryan's not running himself into a lot of sacks. That one's a lot more on his offensive line.
Correct.
But yeah, it's can you use Russell Wilson effectively, and part of it's just him knowing where he's at. When he's 23, 24 years old, whatever he was when he came into the league, and takes 40 odd sacks, his body is able to recover. And now he's like, I'm a family man on the wrong side of 30. I'd rather not just get hit all the dang time. And there's a great one. There you go. Just about being sacks. That's sacks. I didn't have a chance to run the numbers on it today, but
I got you. Don't worry.
His hits per game are way worse.
Oh yeah. It's disgusting.
Because you can take 3 sacks a game as a quarterback, especially when a couple of them, if you figure 1 sack a game on average, 16 sacks over a season, which is probably a little bit high, are going to be the sacks where he's trying to escape and just can't. Right.
But here's the thing: no, there isn't a top 50 quarterback in NFL history that has averaged 3 sacks per game through his career.
Yeah. Not
one.
No.
I mean,
because you're dead.
Getting into the next set of stats, and I'll come back to this one. But look at this: in Wilson's 9 NFL seasons, he's averages being sacked 43.8 times per season. Brett Favre leads the NFL. Leads NFL history. Most sacks taken, 525. Averaged 26.3. That's 20 sacks less per season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because he's on pace to break that in 2 years, 2 years and change. It's like 34 games or something. At that rate, he'll break that. And Brett Favre played for 2.5
decades.
Years. Yeah. So, same thing with Brady. Brady. So here we are too. He started was a starter in 2001. You got it up there. 2001. 20 years later, he's second, and Russ is going to be there in a week.
Yeah, and this is where I can understand Russell Wilson's frustrations because of the amount of abuse his body has taken. But as you said earlier, though, this past year, a lot of those sacks he brought on himself.
Yeah.
And whether it was trusting his receivers or trusting the schemes or trusting the routes or whatever the case may be, he took a ass beating this year.
Yeah. Oh, he got that was the tale of 2 Russell Wilsons, right? The guy who came out of the gate just lighting the league on fire versus the guy we saw the last 8 games of the season, especially after that Buffalo game, he was a completely different quarterback. He was completely unrecognizable.
Well, and one thing that I talked about on this show a number of weeks ago, it was around 11 or 12, was the difference that the Steelers and the Seahawks were actually on a similar trajectory the entire season. They both played about 10 weeks of top-tier football, where you could argue that each one of them was going to be the top of their division, or the top of their conference.
Yeah.
And then after about week 10, they both just face planted.
Yeah.
And it was all from the passing game just being predictable, and defenses had it pegged, and all of a sudden they both just looked like garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It was, and I mean, it's my prevailing theory. I've said it for years. Every single year there's a team or 2 or 3 that starts out, with a 9-1 stretch that just comes out of the gate, and you're like, all right, well, pencil these guys in for the Super Bowl, and then they miss the playoffs or they're a first round exit. It's not to quote Pete Carroll too much, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. It's look at the Buccaneers. At what point in the season, aside from them having just, a murderer's row of offensive talent on that team, did you look at that team and say, yeah, this team is going to win the Super Bowl?
It was about week 10, week 11.
Yeah.
Because they just went on a tear.
Yeah.
From the whole about week 11.
First 8-9 weeks of the season, you're like, it looks like they might, because New Orleans was playing with their hair on fire all season long.
Yep. And New Orleans shut them down. I mean, they only scored 3 points on New Orleans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then you look at Breeze goes down, and they have, that Taysom Hill cocktail come in, and they just, granted, they got a couple favors along the way, but they looked unstoppable for a really good portion of the season, and Green Bay was playing lights out. So, yeah, it wasn't until way late in the season they even pegged Tampa Bay as a true Super Bowl contender. And even along the way, you looked at the competition they had at the top of the NFC, and you're just like, yeah, they're not going to make it through New Orleans and Green Bay, and then take down the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Like, that's not going to happen. And then they did. So it's, you got to finish strong, and sometimes you have to go through those early difficulties in order to capitalize later. Because if those difficulties start, it's way harder to come down than it is to climb up. Because once you are getting to week 10, week 11, and you're feeling good about yourself, you're feeling like, hey man, we got this. This is gelling, and then the entire league figures you out all at once. That's a tough hole to climb out of. Not many teams have ever done it, but if you get that out of the gate, first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and you start to come together as a team and figure out the things you need to do to win, it's a lot easier to finish strong then. So I think that was what both Pittsburgh and Seattle ran into, because that's what happened. Is they were predictable. I mean, the Seahawks had some of those predictable play calling I've ever seen. And that kind of worked when you had Marshawn Lynch and Doug Baldwin and those guys and Jermaine Kearse and just this bevy of offensive weapons that they had in 13, 14, and really into 2015. They just had so many weapons and a defense that could shut anybody down. And by the time Seattle's defense figured it out, there was that week 8, 9-ish period where the defense looked good. And I went, okay, well, if we pair this average defense with the offense, all right, this team can make some noise. And the offense just fell off a cliff. And a lot of that was down to play calling, and it shook Wilson's confidence, and you can't have that.
Yeah. When it's a completely different ball game when you have a running back that the quarterback could literally look at the defense and say, hey, we're running the ball right here. Try and stop it.
Yeah. Well, and then it just gets into the larger conversation of Pete Carroll's philosophies of, the number of times he's punting it on fourth and very short, fourth and inches at the 50 around midfield. You don't have the Legion of Boom anymore. You don't have the ability to play the field position game. You have to play that with your offense more than your special teams and your defense. And he hasn't adapted to that fact. And so to me, it's all about the subtext of what Russell Wilson's saying is yeah. I mean, going back to what the tweet you posted earlier about the Seahawks front office being upset with the fact that his camp took that public, I think that's why they took it public. They wanted to say to the front office, like, hey, Russell Wilson's going to outlast Pete Carroll. And so either you give him a coach that's going to utilize him and protect him. Doesn't mean he's going to take no sacks. Doesn't mean he's going to take fewer than 2 sacks a game. But you need to put him in a position to succeed and play the game he's best at. And that's their way of saying pretty publicly, Pete Carroll's not doing that. Now, I think Shane Waldron's a great hire at offensive coordinator. I think he'll do a better job than Brian Schottenheimer. You look at the things that he tried to do with Jared Goff in LA, and I think Jared Goff's a garbage quarterback, but he tried his best to get him into space, into ways he could be successful. And I think if he takes a more mobile, smarter quarterback in Russell Wilson and is able to do a lot of those same things and execute those same concepts, those sack numbers are going to go down. They're not going to go down to 15, 20 a season, but they'll go down to 30 a season. And I think the touchdowns will go up, the interceptions will go down, and it won't be all on Russell Wilson to win every single football game. And I think that's really what he's looking for, and that's the subtext of what he's saying. And he's just sending the message to Seattle of, hey, when I hit free agency, do you want me here for 5 years after that to finish my career and be the best athlete in Seattle sports history? Or do you want me to go be Steve Young and, go win this with the 49ers?
Where does Russell Wilson take this if 2021 doesn't change anything?
That's a tough call. My feeling is Pete Carroll's gone if 2021 looks the same way that 2020 did. And that's been, I've said it the last few years, really since 2016, that right now we are seeing the ceiling of a Pete Carroll coached Seahawks team without a significant change, is a first round playoff exit. He just lost to a team without a quarterback that he had no business losing to. So I think that's the ceiling for them right now is he hasn't done anything to show that he's putting together a championship team. And it's going to be really hard to do that this year. It's going to be really hard to make improvements with the draft picks they have, and with the cap situation being what it is, it's going to be really hard to add pieces. So you have to fix that internally. You have to fix it through scheme and through coaching. I don't want to say Pete Carroll's not capable of it because, like I said, I like a lot of things about Pete Carroll. I think he can. But yeah, if he doesn't, I think Pete Carroll's gone. And then the front office has a really, really important conversation to have with Russell Wilson. It's the situation we're seeing right now in Houston with Deshaun Watson. Is they said, hey, you're going to be involved in this hiring process. You're going to be involved in the management that comes in, and then they left him out in the cold. And for Seattle, essential at that point that they say, Russ, who do you want? We're going to go get him. Because realistically, for as durable as he's been, he probably does have another 10 years left. And he has a massive contract that, again, you cannot trade. He has a no-trade clause that, yeah, maybe he'll waive, but $40 million in dead cap space, you're never going to trade that. You're never going to make it.
Seattle would have to give up firsts to get teams to take him at that price.
Right. And even so, this isn't baseball. You can't say, okay, I'm going to trade him to you and you send me $20 million of cash. It's a cap number. So with a $180 million cap, you're going to have a $40 million dead cap charge? Like, no way. So, and then what is a franchise quarterback worth, right? We just saw Matt Stafford go, for 2 1s and a 3, and Jared Goff, which I actually think.
But you got to remember though, the Rams paid Detroit essentially to take Goff's contract because that's a big contract. Stafford's cap hit was half of what Goff's was.
No,
so
absolutely.
one of those 2 first-round picks was to take Goff.
That's the thing. That's not the word out of Detroit's camp. Is they're sold on Goff. They think he's the guy, which I think is insane. And maybe that's just them saying saving face. But they're saying they think they can work with him, and they think he's the guy.
But if he was their guy, then they wouldn't have needed the 2 first-round draft picks. And that's the thing. So they took the Rams 2 first-round draft picks because of the cap hit that they had to take on for Goff, because Stafford's was only like $19 million this year.
Yeah.
And Goff's is almost 40.
Right. And how much? That's still a dead cap hit to LA too. Like they're in massive cap trouble, and again, like it's the Buccaneers thing. I see what they're doing. They're putting themselves in the same position that the Buccaneers are in this year in a lot of ways. Is they're saying we're going to go for it. They have to pay a ton of free agents coming up really shortly, and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey aren't getting any cheaper. Mm-hmm. They've got a ton of money tied up into 3 players. So this is their window, and I don't blame them for going for it, especially if it works. But that's the hard spot about where Seattle's at, is they're on the back end of that window, and it now requires a lot of fancy footwork to make that work. You don't have, okay, we're a piece away, but at the same time they kind of are, but they're up against it with the cap and with draft. And again, that's why I say it has to be flexed through coaching and through scheme, because overall, you look at them top to bottom, there's some holes on that roster, but there's not a super weak position group out there. They definitely need another running back, but I think Rashad Penny will be good, and they've done a good job of signing free agents in the past for good prices there. The offensive line is not lacking talent. You have a left tackle. You need a center probably, but you could get by with Posick. They've got decent guards. The wide receiver group, yeah, you need to add a body, but you got Metcalf and Lockett. Tight end, you got Disley and Cody Parkinson. Again, you need to add a guy, but you're not looking at places where you have to spend $11, $12, $13 million a year. The Dunlap acquisition was brilliant, even though he's a bigger cap hit this year. You've improved all those position groups. You have decisions to make, you have pieces to add, but the difference at this point for Seattle is adding a $20 million guy versus adding a $10 million guy is not going to make that much of a difference to the depth of this team. It was scheme, and it was definitely down to execution in a lot of those ways, like I said, with Russ not trusting his reads, but you can fix that in a hurry with good play calling. And I think that's where Seattle's at.
Let me ask you this. This morning on the Pat McAfee show, Michael Lombardi was on there, and Michael Lombardi is somebody who is highly respected around the NFL. Agree?
Yeah, I don't think
He made
justifiably, but he is.
he made the comment regarding the Russell Wilson comments and said that there's a lot of things when comments like that come up that you have to look into more of where they're coming from other than maybe what you believe they were in regards to the team. And he said it's probably has to do with how much more he has to do to win than say Patrick Mahomes and makes 14 million less. And so it
Yep.
becomes a matter of, is Russell Wilson going, "Hey, I know my contract just came, but let's talk about restructure for some more because of how much more I have to do and how much more of a beating I'm taking for it."
No, no, Russ isn't. Russ isn't a dollar cents guy, and he's not hurting for money. Russ is Tom Brady. That's who he is, which just pains me to no extent to say. It just
Oh,
it
come on, you
hurts.
love Tom Brady.
I respect Tom Brady. I respect Tom Brady. I hate quarterbacks, man. You know me.
Spoken like a true defensive back.
Yeah. No, it's just shut up and play the game, right? That's where I come from. Like, man, just shut up and play. You get to play football and you get paid for it, and your wife's a model, singer, whatever the hell she is. Like, shut up. And that's where Russell Wilson's at. Is it was the rumors we heard last year, 2 years ago. Oh, the Giants are going to go trade for him and give up 3 first-round picks and all this crap because Ciara wants to be in New York. No, get out. It's not. That's not who Russell Wilson is. Russ wants to be paid fairly, and he is. And that's just the cascade of quarterback contracts, right? The next guy is just always going to break your record. And Russ is the guy who, if they came to him and said, "Hey, man, we need to restructure this and take $10 million away from you so we can sign XYZ guy," he's gonna go that route more than the "I want another $14 million a year" route. That's the guy he is, and that's what he's after. He wants to win, and that's what he's driven to do. He's not hurting for money in the same way that Tom Brady's not. His wife makes a ton of money. He makes a ton of money off the field. That's the guy he is, and so he's completely following the Tom Brady mold of having tons of revenue streams outside of his contract. I think he wants the contract that he has. When he got it, it set the market. His next one will probably do the same. So I don't think he's worried about it. So,
well, and a number of people in sports have always said the face value of your contract is more bragging rights or more for what your status is with the team or within the NFL. It's not where your money's made. No. Your money's made through your endorsements and through your side businesses and all this other stuff. I mean, most successful athletes with mega contracts make 10 times that in endorsements and side businesses.
Especially quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Especially quarterbacks. There's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and half of them are good, right? I think that's a discussion for another time. I think we're going into kind of the golden age of quarterbacking. I think we're going to see some of the best quarterback play over the next decade than we've ever seen in the NFL.
Well, and I would even add on to that, saying that part of that is because we're in the golden age of wide receivers. Because if you look at how many stud wide receivers come out of college every year, we're in an era where we are getting inundated with high caliber wide receivers every single year. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why we have more breakouts is because we have so many get injured.
Yeah, and then you got the trend in younger coaches, college coaches, Sean McVay's and those guys, or old guys like Andy Reid, who are extremely willing to adapt to the talent that they have on the roster. Again, big problem with Pete Carroll right there. Is you have these guys who are willing to adapt their game to the talent that they have on the roster, and so we're seeing them utilize that a lot more. So it's a perfect storm. I think we're in for a really fun, 10 years of the NFL with the quarterbacks, like you said, the wide receivers, and the schemes that we're seeing. I think it's just going to make it better and better and a more exciting product. I mean, of course, they're also neutering defensive backs along the way, but we'll just enjoy the positives.
So, being in the golden age of quarterbacks, then, do you believe we've reached quarterback saturation point where it's going to be tough for teams to add a high caliber quarterback or free agents to get a big money signing?
Well, it depends on how deep down this rabbit hole you want to go, but a lot of it depends on the next CBA. The collective bargaining agreement is going to be a big part of it, right? So, Matt Stafford, was it Matt Stafford or Sam Bradford, the last big number one overall paycheck?
Carson Wentz.
Huh?
Or, well, no, Jared Goff.
No, because it's even before that. But it's whenever they put in the rookie salary cap, right? And that paved the way for Wilson and Mahomes and these guys who came in at then what became under market values, whereas you saw the Sam Bradfords, right, who signed these just mega deals, record-setting deals before they ever played it down in the NFL. So they reset the market before they ever took a single snap, and then everybody looked at them, well, that's not good. And
yeah, that was Bradford in 2009.
That's right. Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was Bradford or Stafford. And,
yeah, he was the last big money contract because then Cam came in 2010.
There you go. Yeah, I knew Newton was the next guy, right?
Yep.
And so that paved the way for then Mahomes and Wilson and these guys who then come in at under market deals, and you can afford to go out and spend in free agency and afford to sign other big money guys because you have a bargain. I mean, look at when the Seahawks, and this isn't to put anything on Russell, he didn't do anything wrong, but or the Seahawks front office, but what are you going to do? You got to pay the guy. He's a franchise quarterback, and look at when it started to get hard for the Seahawks is when they had to pay all those guys. And yeah, a lot of that can go to scheme as well and coaching, but once you have those massive deals for those guys, it becomes a lot harder to fill the gaps.
So then here's the question that I'm getting at though with it all. So we have an abundant amount of quarterbacks trading teams this year, or potentially moving, and then there's 5 or 6 quarterbacks that they're talking about being first round draft picks. How do we squeeze that many into it? I mean, if you look at last year, yeah, you had Burrow at number 1, you had Tua and Herbert that were looked at, they were going to be top 5, top 7 as well. But then on top of that, you had Jordan Love was looked at, Eason was looked at, Jalen Hurts. We had upwards of 8 guys that they were talking about. Jake Fromm, all could be first-round guys. And when you have that many first-round quarterbacks, how many teams are going to draft a first-round quarterback when they have a guy like Matt Stafford on their roster already?
Yeah, it depends on where you can get him. And it depends on what your philosophy as an organization is. It depends on where you're at, right? You go back, 2 months ago, and okay, where the Jets have Trevor Lawrence in the bag, right? And now, are they going to draft a quarterback? Do you draft a quarterback number 2 overall?
I think if Saleh's smart, he sticks with Bradford. Or not Bradford, Sam Darnold. Sorry,
Sam Darnold. Yeah,
I was thinking Sam Bradford.
but then Sam Darnold kind of sucks. So,
but again, is that the Gase effect?
Right.
Because you look at Tannehill. You said the same thing about Tannehill 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And look at him.
Tannehill sucked.
Yeah. So and that's part of it. And again, you got to get good coaching. You got to get the right quarterback pairing. I say about Bill Walsh and Steve Young all the time. Like, if it wasn't for Bill Walsh, just Steve Young.
Correct.
If you're not putting, if you put Russell Wilson with Bill Belichick, is he ever Russell Wilson? I don't think so. If you stick him with Adam Gase, we never even hear about him. He's some guy who got picked in the 3rd round, and then we just never hear about him again because he got stuck in such a crappy situation.
Matt Flynn would have been the starter.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, again, it comes back to what those guys are willing to do and the situations they're willing to put them in. You use Stafford as an example, right? Now, if I'm Sean McVay, I'm taking somebody 2nd or 3rd round. Although I always say never take a quarterback in the 2nd round. Either they're a first-round guy or they're not.
But they don't need to because they got John Wolford, and John Wolford looked impressive.
Yeah, but I also think he died. So,
but unprepared quarterback.
Yeah, right. And that's I think you look at, and this is where I'll use Pete Carroll as a great example. I love what he did in 2010. I love what him and John Schneider did in 2010. Is they came in with a plan. to reassemble that roster, and they tore it down to the studs. Right, they were trading guys away for jock straps, and they got every single last tiny little draft pick they possibly could. You know, they have what 5-6 picks this year. They had 14 in 2010, I think, and I don't think they ended up making like 12. That's an insane amount of draft picks. You know, and we look at, and yeah, it takes research to do this, but where they got Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, all of these guys, but they also made 2 or 3 picks in all those rounds. And there were guys that didn't hack it, that weren't good enough. So if you're a new coach, you got to take a bunch of bites of that apple. You know, yeah, okay, I'm gonna, because they brought in, oh my God, I can't think of his name. What's his name from Green Bay? And he was
for the Jets.
No, for Seattle back in 2010.
Oh, Holmgren.
No, their quarterback.
Flynn.
Matt Flynn. Yeah, thank you. They brought in Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn was presumed to be the starter. They gave him a pretty good deal for a quarterback. And then it was, all right, whoever plays better plays. And Russ outplayed him. You know, so are you willing to do that as a coach? Are you willing to say, well, I took this guy in the 3rd round, but he's playing his balls off? Or, you know, that was the thing is Lawrence Jackson was the last pick before John Schneider. He was a 1st-round pick and traded for, I think, 6th-round pick. And they just got rid of him.
And that's the thing with Flynn. They didn't just bring in Flynn. Yeah. They paid Flynn.
They paid him starter money. I think it wasn't a huge contract. There wasn't like this monster deal that
no. But it was, I mean, it was all based on the last few games that he had in Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers was out.
Yeah.
And he threw that 6-touchdown game in week 17 of the season.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he signed like a $12 million contract with Seattle, and you're kind of like going, what the crap?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, like, you know, how many New York or New England 2nd-string quarterbacks have gone on to paydays, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Matt Castle, Garoppolo, you know, we got a ton of those guys out there. And again, it's what do you want out of a quarterback? You know, do you want a game manager? Do you want, you know, you're not always going to hit on those guys because you look at 1st-round picks from every draft, right? There's always 4 or 5 guys in the 1st round who end up going, and how many of them are actually hits? So even in the 1st round, yeah, coming out of college, these guys are 1st-round talents, but they're still a coin flip.
Yeah.
So it's you have to find a way to hedge your bets, but you also can't stockpile quarterbacks. So
how many quarterbacks are going in the 1st round this year?
I think 4 or 5.
Do you think I'd say going?
I always say there's, you know, there's the 1st-round guys, and then there's the guy who somebody trades back into the 1st round for to get that 5th-year option. So I think there's probably 4 guys this year who are worthy, and I think somebody will sneak back. Somebody's going to slip because of that. You know, you get into the late teens, right? You're going to have the run of quarterbacks at the top of the draft, the top 10 guys who everybody views as surefire picks. And I think we have 3 of those. You'll have one guy go in the, you know, 12 to 16 range, and that's the Mahomes range, right? That's where Aaron Rodgers kind of should have gone. The guy starts to fall a little bit. Somebody jumps up and gets him, and then you have the guy at the back end of the 1st round that somebody trades back in for. So I think there's 5 guys this year.
Man, I just don't see that many going 1st round.
Yeah, it's always such a crapshoot. The other thing, and that's why I'm not naming names and saying what order they're going to go in, aside from Lawrence.
Right.
But, you know, there's always the, I call it the Jamarcus Russell effect. There's always some guy who, like, put up volume numbers at a SEC school or some crap, you know, put up volume numbers and then goes and does workouts and goes to the combine and throws the ball 80 yards from his knees, and some Al Davis guy falls in love with him. Right, it's whoever the Texans draft this year is that guy, except they don't have a 1st-round pick.
No, but they're going to have Deshaun Watson still this year. Don't you listen to Casario?
Deshaun Watson is he will retire from football. It'd be like if Griffey got traded to the Yankees. He's like, you know, no way, absolutely not. You gutted every piece of talent from this team. Get out. No, there's no way he plays another down for the Texans. You know, so there's always some guy who skyrockets up draft boards, and because of his workouts, and he always flames out. But there's always some guy who's just can throw the ball a mile, and scouts just fall in love with them. And you're like, I didn't this guy win like 6 games, and I never heard of him before last week, and suddenly in the draft he's a top 10 pick, and you're like, who the hell is this guy? Always happens, always happens. So there's going to be that guy is going to sneak up draft boards. I haven't paid too much attention to Senior Bowl coverage or anything like that yet, but
I didn't overall with the Senior Bowl. I'm not usually a big fan of it because my issues with the Senior Bowl is that there's a lot of talent in college that they should bring back doing like a Shrine Bowl type of game where it's not just the seniors.
Do you know the Senior Bowl is great for evaluating? There's one thing only the Senior Bowl is great for evaluating. That's linemen. That's where you'll get
Dylan Radins, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But that's where a wide receiver is a wide receiver, right? They can all run routes. They can all, you can nitpick their cuts and everything, but you're going to learn as much from their 40 time. But yeah, you want to see their game tape, right? Where you see people really set themselves apart that is representative of the careers they will have is the linemen at the Senior Bowl, because those are guys who are then working in pro schemes with pro coaches that they haven't worked for before. And so you see the feedback from the scouts and those coaches, and those linemen that shine at the Senior Bowl always go on to have really good NFL careers. That's the best evaluation tool that comes out of the Senior Bowl. But quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, it's a Pro Bowl for them. They just don't want to get hurt. Quarterback's going to go out and he's going to throw the ball to a wide receiver he knows, and he's going to chuck it a mile, and they're going to be, it's what's his nuts up with the Giants. Like, oh my God, he had a great Senior Bowl. Well, yeah, of course he did.
Yeah, because the cornerbacks fell off coverage anyways.
Right.
Because they're just
and I'm going to go to the Senior Bowl and I'm going to go to the Senior Bowl and put my hands on a wide receiver and be the guy who caused him to tear his ACL. No way. All I want to do is not get torched at the Senior Bowl. It's no way. No, nobody's trying. It's the Pro Bowl. Nobody's trying. They're trying to impress, but they're doing it through workouts and everything. So if you hear somebody has, listen for the negatives. No work ethic, bad attitude. No NFL coach is ever going to be shy about letting you know about that. So listen for that, but don't trust the positives of a skill player at the Senior Bowl.
Agree. Yeah, so as far as I go, I'm thinking 3, maybe a 4th quarterback in first round. I don't think it's going to go that deep. And a lot of that I look at even like last year, they were talking about 8 and 4 went.
Yeah, it's always less than the mock drafts say.
Well, a lot of the mocks are
every year I go to do a mock draft, and I just can't do it. They're just so dumb.
I've been doing mock drafts the last couple of years. I'm going to probably do mine beginning of May.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, I like to wait until we see a little bit more of the trades take place, some of the free agent signings take place after the new league year starts. But right now, it's like, you look at the teams that really need a quarterback. Well, Washington's probably going to get theirs solved before the draft. Mm-hmm. Whether they trade for Carr or Mariota, or
right.
Fitzmagic, for example, or Cam Newton, of all people, ends up playing for Rivera again. Who knows? But I
don't forget Bridgewater's out there too.
As a trade, but he's signed for a 3 or 4 deals, or 3 or 4 years.
He's got a couple years left, but
he's got a large cap number for next year, and there's not many teams that are going to want to take that on.
No. And that's the thing that's again, like, I just find so interesting about these next couple of years is I think we have more teams situated with quarterbacks than we ever have before. Usually it's about half the league, and it's probably 20 teams deep right now. Especially once some of these dominoes start to fall of the guys who are available. You got guys who are starting caliber quarterbacks, and not even, and this isn't even to take anything away from Fitzgerald. Like, he's done a bang up job and made a hell of a career for himself, but like, they're even kind of a cut above him, where you could be comfortable signing them to a 4-year deal and them starting those 4 years and being effective for you. So I think there's 22 teams out there right now that have a starting quarterback, and that's way more than we usually see. Because 10 years ago it was 10.
Usually what we see is, as far as team rollover with quarterback from one year to the next, the biggest year we've ever seen in the NFL as far as teams starting with a new quarterback, or I should say, new starting quarterbacks the next year was in 1999. We saw 19.
Yeah.
And that was also where you added in, and we talked about this last week on the show. The Texans and the Browns came back.
Yeah.
So there was two of the 19. So 17 more teams had a new starting quarterback the next year. This year they're aiming at potentially being 12 or 13.
Yeah. Yeah. The difference is, that I think they actually have starting quarterbacks. Cleveland didn't have a starting quarterback until 2 years ago. they went through 19 quarterbacks in those 20 odd years.
20. I think it was 26 quarterbacks since 1999.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe we can go back to that first point. We can call them a successful franchise just by starting the same quarterback for consecutive seasons.
Yeah.
It's a way to take a step forward, Cleveland. I got family in Cleveland. I hope to God they don't hear this. But yeah, it's the caliber of those guys is so much higher than it was back then.
Yeah.
Because neither you go back to the top of the draft, Cleveland and Houston just whiffed that year. So yeah, even if there's a lot of turnover, there's still a lot of those guys out there. I mean, you're talking about a guy like Deshaun Watson being available. He's top 10. He's easy.
Yep. Okay, not to cut you off, but I got one last question for you before I let you go.
Shoot.
Seahawks first pick is second round. Who are they going with second round? I should say, what position are they going second round?
What position? That's a tricky one before free agency, my friend. Because the biggest hole I would like to see them fill, one way or another, is running back. But if you re-sign Chris Carson, I couldn't tell you who the best free agent running backs out there right now are. But if they put their eggs in the Rashad Penny basket and even sign a depth guy like they have the last couple of years, they're not going to draft a running back. But that's the biggest hole I would like to see them fill. A second round offensive lineman is a development piece, so they're not going to go that route. They never draft defensive backs that high. I don't think there's anybody who hits the sweet spot right there. Wide receiver, if we were going to Vegas right now and I had to bet a position group, they would draft a wide receiver, possibly a tight end. They'll get a slot receiver. That's the biggest hole they have probably right now that they could fill early in the second round or midway through the second round, I guess, is a good possession receiver, which would really complement DK and Tyler, a guy who's going to, that Doug Baldwin. They need a Doug Baldwin. They need a sure-handed underneath guy who's going to allow DK and Tyler to use their speed. And that might come from a tight end as well. You know how that position group goes these days.
Yep.
So that would be my bet, some kind of a possession receiver, either tight end or
and this year's draft is rather deep at wide receiver, so I could see there being a really good receiver for their second round picks.
I mean, they just got a generational talent in the second round last year, right? So like you said about offensive linemen, you worry about the evaluation process that they have in place for that, and then they've hit it out of the park with wide receivers in the second round. That's Doug Baldwin came from there, not Percy Irvin. The other Paul Richardson did well for them. They've had really good success with second round wide receivers, so that would be my bet.
I would agree. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on tonight, Dean.
Anytime, man.
We didn't get to talk any baseball. We kind of ran out of time, and that's what happens when we talk football. We get long-winded.
I got good baseball stuff. We'll have to do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks again, man, and we'll definitely plan on having you on again. Everybody, give it up, Dean Smith Richard. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, man.
We'll see you.
Yeah.
Whew. Right on. That was fun. Oh, good man right there. A lot of knowledge. I've known Dean for Decade plus, and our sports conversations go hours. Yeah, we'll definitely be having Dean on again sometime. We did run out of time tonight because we got to get on the box rip tonight. So we're going to get that rounded out over here real quick. Let me get my screen flopped. Give me a moment. All right. I do love these new screens that I've got downloaded. This is awesome. All the widgets, everything. Do once a month with Dean, huh? I could probably do that. I guarantee he'd be all for that. Guarantee. All right, so we are going to rip a box of Top Series 1 baseball tonight. Give me 1 second here. All right. Ooh. I'm taking off my headphone now because I don't have to have the feedback anymore. I hope it shows up tomorrow or Thursday, Donnie. That'd be, well, what day did I ship? I guess that was, what, Saturday that shipped? Friday? So, okay, yeah, that makes sense then. It's that it's almost there then. All right, so we are ripping a hobby box of 2021 baseball Series 1. In each box, you look for one autograph or relic card. We get 24 packs with 14 cards per pack. We're going to try to fly through this as quick as we can so that we're not just hanging on looking at every base card. I'll show off the first pack, and then we'll kind of stick to inserts and short prints and stuff. So each pack, or each hobby box, we get one silver pack. We'll get to that in a little bit. I'm going to pull all the packs out of here so I can get this box out of the way. All right, we're going to save the silver pack for last. So if you have not seen any Topps Series 1 baseball, which I'm assuming most everybody watching this has, there's your base cards. So there's Marcell Ozuna. We're going to try to get through this. We get our first parallel of, this is the rainbow foil of Ian Happ. It just looks like a silver foil. Should start getting rookies here any second. You sometimes get a pack or two of no rookie. There we go. Christian Javier rookie for the Astros. Spencer Howard rookie. And then back to base veterans. And then here we get the insert, the 70 years throwback inserts. And we get Yadier Molina. Tavares rookie. And I do have a couple more boxes, hobby boxes and jumbos on the website for anybody looking for more. Albert Abreu rookie, Tariq Skubal rookie. And we get, instead of an auto in this box, we get a jersey card of Blake Snell. Blake Snell jersey. So no auto for us in this box. So now we got to hope for a nice parallel. David Peterson, Anderson Tejada, Kyrie Ruiz, Ryan Mountcastle rookies. And we've got Stars in Service, Carlos Carrasco, insert. This was a rather dry pack. Suns versus Nets on right now. All right, Louis Patino rookie. Ryan Sandberg throwback. Monty Harrison, Joey Bart, Dylan Carlson rookies, Brandon Belak rookie. So we're starting to get a few more rookies now. Anthony Rendon throwback. Dane Dunning rookie. Mitch White rookie. Hope for a short print of some sort. And if you're unfamiliar, the base card on the bottom, the number, the code 213 is the base card. So you're looking for various numbers besides that. And there we get an Eddie Murray. Oh, Chris Bubich. Bo Burrows rookies. Humberto Mejia rookie. Nick Neidert rookie. Castellani, Nick Heath, Tristan McKenzie rookies. Evan White rookie. Rafael Devers in the 86. Cody Hewer. Oh, still got that one. Luis Garcia, rookie. And we get a numbered out of 2021, the gold, Cody Bellinger, parallel. Halfway through the box, guys. Nate Pearson, rookie. Trevor Story, 86. Yes, I've opened up a hobby. I did not get a gold 2021 in it either. So I was definitely glad to see one come out of this one. Now I just want to see a good variation. Daniel Johnson, rookie. Dalton Varsho. Santiago Espinal. Isaac Paredes, rookies. We get the Johnny Bench throwback. Blake Taylor, rookie. Christian Pache, that's going to be one of the popular ones this year. Cody Whitley. Jesus Sanchez. And we get a photo variation rookie of Luis Garcia. Yep, photo variation. Number 230 on the back there on the bottom. The little number right there above my finger. Number 230. Photo variation. That is the first photo variation rookie that I have pulled for this year. George Brett, 86. Brady Singer, rookie. Need Bohm and Joe Adell. Andres Jimenez, rookie. Only a few packs left. Nick Madrigal, James Caprillion. There's Bohm right there. Alec Bohm. Now all we're missing is, and then here we go, History of Topps insert. There's the Celebrating Project 2020. Now all we're missing is the Joe Adell. Chadwick Tromp, rookie. And then we get another foil, Marwin Gonzalez, and I've been pulling him in every freaking color I've pulled so far. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of where they put the rookie cup this year. I think it looks really stupid being side middle. Just bizarre. Bobby Dahlbeck, rookie. There we go. There's the Joe Adell. We got all the big names. And then we get a Vladdy Senior, 86. 3 packs left, and then we get our silver pack to go. Tyler Stevenson, Eddie Alvarez, Casey Mize rookie. Sixto Sanchez rookie. Kyle Lewis. And we get a numbered out of 299, Eric Sogard. More parallels in this hobby box than what I got in one of the jumbos that I opened. Edward Olivares rookie. Matt Chapman. Alright, last of the regular packs, and then we will open the silver pack. Delvey Garcia rookie. Looks like we've got potentially a color coming. Nope, insert. We get a home run derby of Freddie Freeman. And then we get Ian Anderson rookie card in the last pack. Alright, so that's the regular packs done. Let's see what we get in our... Starting off, not bad. Luis Robert in our silver pack. I do like the look of these cards. This is pretty cool. That 86 look with the mojo. And boom, Mariners rookie, Evan White. That's cool. That's really cool. And another Mariner, Ichiro. Oh, you want the Ichiro? We got some Ichiro. And last card for the Brewers, legend, Robin Yount. And that is our hobby box of 2021 baseball. Series 1. I like that Ichiro. That, I believe, is the first Ichiro I've gotten in a silver pack. Okay, giveaways tonight. We're going to give away the Blake Snell. And I'm going to give away the Freddie Freeman Home Run Challenge with the Luis Garcia Variation Short Print rookie. Those are going to be the two giveaways that we're going to do tonight. Yeah, not a shabby box at all. With the regular hobby, I don't have super high expectations anyways, just because you only get one hit. Okay, so first prize, second prize on the list. Let's get the which one is it? Which one is it? All right, dice roller. And then list randomizer. All right, guys, just type me in the chat if you want into the drawing. We got Shane. Oops, I don't know why I did D. Come on, my keys aren't working. We got David Miller. We've got Donnie. We got Taylor. We got more people in here than that. Come on, guys, get entered. Type me in the chat to get entered. Gotta have more than 4 people that want entered into this. Unless people just have their screens muted right now. It's kind of weird watching a show and muting me. Alright, while we're waiting, I'm going to give it another minute or so. I'm going to roll the dice. We're going to randomize the list 10 times according to random.org. Give it another minute here. This is where I need some music playing. I need some music to kind of be the, hey, come on, let's go. Another 30 seconds. And moving on. Oh, 16 for Booker, huh? He's having himself a game. I do like Book. So the Celtics beat the Nugs, huh? Wow. Pelicans whomped on the Grizzlies. Zion, 31 points. Ja at least got up 28. That's not bad. Ja's been struggling lately, but that seemed to like he at least had a good game tonight. Oh, Nuggets been having some COVID issues or what? Jokic put up 43 tonight. God, that guy's a beast. Raptors beat the Bucks. The crap? Pascal played center tonight. Put up 23. Van Vliet went off for 33. Giannis another 34 with 10 rebounds, 8 assists. God, Giannis is a freaking monster. I really like Giannis. Lakers beat the T-Wolves. No shock there. LeBron puts up 30. Dennis Schroeder put up 24. Anthony Edwards put up 28 points. Seen without Anthony Davis, Timberwolves should have been able to at least they should have been able to take that to OT. But I don't know. I'd like to see the Timberwolves do better, but they just never succeed. Blazers taking down OKC. Dort 23 points. Basley 14. And Shea did not play. No Shea tonight. No Shea. Nets. Oh, no KD playing tonight. or Kyrie. Oh, interesting game plan. All right, guys, we're rolling with the random. All right, so we're going to randomize it 10 times. Good luck, everybody. All 4 of you that entered. Number 1, a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10th and final time. Good luck, everybody. Shane taking the 1 spot, winning the Blake Snell jersey card. David Miller scoring the duo Freddie Freeman home run challenge and the Garcia variation. Congratulations, Shane and David. Right on. Hang on one. All right, back over this way. Congratulations, Shane and David, on our winnings tonight. Next week, we do have a special guest lined up for next week. It's going to be a true interview. The creator of the Loop app, which is a new app in sports card collecting. So we're going to have him on at 6:30. Good half-hour interview, and you guys will be able to find out about an up-and-coming app called the Loop app. And so make sure you guys are around for that one. Tell your friends. Let's get this channel going bigger. I want to see more people in this channel. I want to start giving away more stuff out of hobby boxes, and I'm working on a deal with Fanatics where potentially we're going to get some ad sponsors. So let's get this channel cooking. Be a friend, tell a friend, as Pat McAfee always says. So get your friends in here. Tell your friends, tell your family, come watch. Check out a good interview. One of these days we're going to get a couple athletes coming on, and we're going to have some fun with this channel. So let's keep it going. Make sure you tell your friends to sub. Make sure you tell your friends to come watch. Watch the replays. I'm going to post full episode replays on Twitter from now on so that everybody can watch in case they're driving or whatever else. They can listen to the full episode instead of just a breakdown. So anyway, it was a great show tonight. I want to thank you guys for joining. I want to thank Dean for joining us tonight, and we'll probably keep that going here in the future between him and Mark Magana, having those guys on once a month. And we'll be back next Tuesday. Same time, 6 p.m. Pacific, as always. So we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night, and be safe.